I overheard my wife tell her mother I would make the perfect ex-husband because I'm too nice to fight for anything in court. That weekend, I quietly hired a lawyer and filed first. She was served at dinner in front of her entire family. She hasn't stopped crying since. I'm not the type to air dirty laundry online, but this one? Yeah, this one's been burning a hole in my chest. If I don't write it out, I might start pacing holes in my hardwood. I'm 38. Work in logistics. Mostly contracts, fleet operations, nothing flashy. I like clean shirts, quiet mornings, and my coffee black. Married for 6 years to Rachel, 36. She teaches English at the high school down the road. We met through friends, clicked over a shared love of early 80s movies and lazy Sundays. I thought we had a solid thing. Not exciting, maybe, but honest. Turns out, I was the only one playing it straight. Last Saturday, I was in the crawl space under the laundry room rerouting a drain pipe. Not a glamorous way to spend a weekend, but I prefer doing things myself. There's an old heating vent that runs straight up through the floor into the guest room closet. Normally it's nothing, but when voices carry down from that room, they come through clearer than you'd think. Rachel was up there with her mother. Her voice dropped that performative sweetness she uses with strangers and got sharper, casual, like she was catching up over wine. They didn't know I was below them, wrenches clanking, headlamp on. What I heard stopped me cold. "I told you, Mom, he's not gonna fight me on anything. He's too nice," Rachel said, laughing. "I could clean him out, and he'd probably apologize for making it difficult." Her mother laughed. "He really is the perfect ex-husband. The kind who'll sign whatever you put in front of him just to be done with it." Then she added something that flipped a switch in my brain. "I've already looked into it. If I file, I can probably keep the house and get spousal. He makes more than enough." I didn't move. Just crouched there, hands still gripping the P-trap, listening to my wife and her mother plan how to dismantle my life, calmly, methodically. The same way I'd seen carriers try to weasel out of freight claims. Except this was my marriage, my home. They didn't say anything about cheating, not directly, but Rachel did mention how someone like her shouldn't waste her best years babysitting a man with no ambition. I waited another 15 minutes down there. Let them finish. Let the rage cool until it turned to something harder, colder. Later that evening, she handed me a glass of wine and kissed my cheek like nothing happened. She watched a baking show on the couch, texting someone with a smile I didn't recognize. I sat beside her, nodded at the screen, and made a mental note to call the lawyer Monday. I wasn't going to raise my voice. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to file first. By Monday morning, I had a consultation booked with a local firm. Not one of those billboards on the freeway places either. This was a guy named Wexler. Quiet office, clean desk, ex-military demeanor. He looked over my notes. Yes, I brought notes, and didn't blink once. "You file first, you control the tempo," he said, flipping through a printout of our financials. "She's banking on passivity. That's an opening." From that moment, I stopped reacting and started preparing. I didn't move out. I didn't start fights. I became invisible. I went to work like always, came home on time, did the dishes, cleaned the gutters. Routine was my shield. While Rachel spent her nights texting on the patio, glass of wine in hand, I sat in the guest room documenting every withdrawal she made from our joint account. I watched her Venmo her sister $500 and label it girls' trip. She hadn't told me about any trip. I made copies of everything. Statements, receipts, her recent Amazon sprees that included 2 suitcases and a new iPad. She didn't bother hiding it. She assumed I'd never question her spending. That was her mistake. Wexler connected me with a forensic accountant. Low-profile guy. Didn't even have a sign on his door. I gave him everything. Turns out, Rachel had been slowly moving small amounts into an old account she never disclosed during our joint financial planning, under her maiden name. Sloppy. Predictable. We had a joint credit card too. I froze it, then opened one in my name only and rerouted all autopay bills. I didn't say a word. The next time she tried to buy a $200 throw blanket from some Instagram boutique, it got declined. She looked at the screen like it betrayed her. "What's going on with the card?" she asked, sitting across the dinner table. I shrugged, calm. "Must be fraud or something. I'll look into it." That night she texted her mom again. I know because she left her phone open on the couch while she showered. "He's clueless," Probably forgot to pay the bill again. Can't wait to be done with this. I took a picture of that message too. Meanwhile, I went through the house cataloging everything that was mine before the marriage. Tools, furniture, even the old truck title. Wexler said it'd matter, especially since we were in an equitable distribution state. She thought she'd be walking off with the whole house. She didn't know I had bought it 2 years before we ever met, and still had the original deed. I also started recording any argument she initiated. Nothing illegal, just for my own safety. If she tried to twist anything later, I'd have timestamps, tone, and context. The best part? She started getting comfortable. That smug confidence that people show when they think they've already won. It was written all over her face every time she walked by, humming, phone in hand, half smiling at something she never shared. She wasn't prepared for what was coming. Because I wasn't building a defense, I was setting a trap. I filed at 3:45 p.m. on a Friday. It was done quietly, just the way I wanted it. No loud arguments, no crying fits, no pre-fight bluffing. Wexler sent the papers through the courthouse system and walked me through the next steps like a man coaching someone through a controlled detonation. Everything was timed. We would serve her on Sunday. Not just any Sunday, family dinner Sunday. Her mother, her sister, her brother-in-law, all sitting around the long oak table she inherited from her grandmother. She insisted we host it every other week. She wanted the house? Fine. Let her get served in it. Saturday came and went like any other day. She went to yoga, then brunch with her sister, then came home buzzed and talking about how we should probably go through the garage soon, figure out what we're keeping. I nodded, told her sure, whenever she wants. I watched her fold my future into a box in her head, thinking I'd be too weak or stunned to push back. I went to bed early. Didn't sleep much. Sunday morning, I vacuumed, cooked, kept the charade going. She noticed. "You're in a good mood," she said, pouring her second mimosa before noon. "Just trying to be helpful," I replied. By 4, the house smelled like roast and rosemary. She had jazz playing on the Bluetooth speaker and a new candle burning in the entryway. She looked like the poster child for Pinterest marriages. Her family showed up a little after 5, all at once like they always did. I shook hands, passed out drinks, played the role. I sat at the head of the table, same as every time. Rachel's mother sat beside her, the same woman who told my wife I was too soft to stand up for anything. We made it through salads, small talk, and half the roast. That's when the knock came. Rachel frowned. "Did you order something?" I shook my head. "Nope, probably a neighbor." I didn't move. I just chewed my food and let the silence stretch. She sighed and stood. I watched her walk barefoot toward the door, glass of wine still in hand. From the dining room, we heard the muffled exchange. "Rachel Morgan? Yes, you've been served. Have a good evening." There was a pause. Then the unmistakable sound of a thick envelope being opened. The clink of her wine glass hitting the floor. She walked back into the dining room holding the paperwork like it was radioactive. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes scanned the top page over and over like the words would rearrange themselves if she stared long enough. Her mom looked up. "What's going on?" Rachel tried to speak. Nothing came out. I set down my fork. "I filed," I said evenly. 3 days ago. I'm seeking sole ownership of the property, division of assets based on individual contribution, and I've already frozen all joint accounts. I'll move out once a temporary order is established. My attorney's contact information is in the packet." Her brother-in-law looked like he wanted to disappear. Her mother's jaw hung open. You can't just..." I stood. "Dinner was lovely. I'll leave you all to finish." And I walked out the front door. I didn't go far. Just drove to the park down the street and sat in the truck. Watched the sun drop below the tree line while the engine ticked quietly. I had a duffel bag in the back, change of clothes, charger, documents, everything I needed for a few days. I didn't want to be around when the fog lifted, and Rachel realized this wasn't a scare tactic. It was done. My phone lit up about 30 minutes later. First it was Rachel, then her mom, then Rachel again. No voicemails, just back-to-back calls like they thought sheer volume would change something. I didn't pick up. I spent the night at a buddy's house. He offered a whiskey and didn't ask questions. Monday morning, I met with Wexler again to finalize the asset disclosures and submit the supporting documentation. Every receipt, every screenshot, every payment trail. By Wednesday, Rachel's lawyer, some overworked local she probably found through Yelp, had already reached out with her counter-proposals. Wexler read them without flinching. They still think you're bluffing. He slid the packet back across the table. They want 50% of the house value, he said, plus temporary spousal support. No mention of her undisclosed account. No mention of her individual income. Nothing about the early withdrawals she made from the joint account over the past 3 months. I looked at the page, then looked up. Good, let's bury them in the paperwork. Rachel tried reaching out again that night. This time, a text. Please, can we just talk? I didn't mean it like that. You didn't even give me a chance to explain. I stared at it, left it on read. By the weekend, her sister was messaging me too. Long paragraph about how divorce brings out the worst in people and how maybe you both overreacted. They were circling, testing for weakness, trying to find cracks in the wall. There weren't any. The best part? Rachel still hadn't grasped just how badly she'd miscalculated. She assumed community property meant the house was automatically split, but she never put her name on the title. She assumed she'd be entitled to alimony, but she'd been stashing money in an undeclared account for over a year, and she definitely didn't know I had the recordings. Nothing scandalous, just cold, casual statements like, he'd never fight me, he doesn't have it in him. I had all the fight she never thought I'd use. I just kept it under the surface. Her lawyer backed down on the spousal support after Wexler submitted her hidden account balance. They tried to argue the house was effectively marital property. Wexler buried them in ownership history and proof of separate maintenance. By the second week, Rachel finally stopped trying to argue and started trying to talk. I just wish you'd talk to me first. She wanted a conversation. After plotting a clean exit behind my back, after mocking me with her mother. But the time for talking had passed. I'd already said everything I needed to. With paperwork. By the end of the third week, Rachel's calls had stopped. Her lawyer sent over a revised proposal. No claim on the house, no request for support, just a split of the remaining shared savings. Wexler looked at me across his desk. She's folding, he said. You want to negotiate or push for the full ruling? Let's wrap it clean, I said. No blood, just closure. We drafted our acceptance, signed, and filed. It was done. She got to keep her car, her personal savings, and a few pieces of furniture. I kept the house, the tools, and everything I owned before the marriage. There was nothing left to discuss. The night the final agreement was signed, I came home and cooked dinner in total silence. Not the kind that hurts. The kind that clears a room. I sat in the chair I'd picked out, slept in my bed without the sound of someone typing beside me, texting God knows who. She never moved back in. She never asked. A month later, I ran into her sister at the hardware store. She looked uncomfortable, but tried to play nice. Rachel's been having a hard time, she said, watching my reaction. I just nodded. She said you changed. I looked at her then, not angry, not smug, just finished. No, she just finally saw the part of me she kept pretending didn't exist. Rachel's been texting every few weeks since. Always late at night. Always emotional. I don't know who I am without you. I made a mistake. You didn't even give us a chance to fix it. I haven't replied, not once. She cried the day she was served. Her mother tried to step in, play damage control. They thought I'd melt the moment things got hard. They bet everything on me being the guy who never fights. But the truth is, I'm not the man who can't fight. I'm the man who waits for the right moment and hits where it counts. Edit, since people keep asking. Yes, the house was mine before marriage. She never contributed to the mortgage. That held up in court. No, she didn't cheat, not that I could prove. But the betrayal wasn't physical. It was strategic, and that's worse. No, I don't feel guilty. I gave her 6 years of stability, support, and honesty. She gave me a plan to walk away the moment it suited her. Yes, I'm seeing someone now. Quietly. She doesn't know about all this. Doesn't need to. Final thought. A man doesn't have to yell to be strong. Sometimes he just has to listen long enough to learn exactly where to cut and walk away while the pieces fall.